This video is on number 6 from the 1.0B homework for Math 141. So we have a quadratic here, and it's 2x plus 1 quantity squared equals 17. So what we need to do is take the square root of both sides. I'm going to get this number 6 out of the way because it's just numbering and not part of the problem. So we'll eliminate that. If we did have a coefficient there, we would have to divide through by that coefficient first to isolate our squared binomial. But in this case, I can go ahead and take the square root of both sides, and that leaves me with 2x plus 1 equals square root of 17. But remember, we have plus or minus square root 17. So now we would finish solving. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides. And I'm going to leave the -1 here to the left just so it's in the proper format. This is kind of similar to what it might look like if you used the quadratic formula, but you don't need to go to all that extent. That would take a lot longer. You'd have to expand out that quadratic and set it equal to 0 if you simplify and get your ABC terms plugged into the formula. So this is a really nice, quick, concise way. And it's already set up for you. And this technique is why we use the process of completing the square, so that it gets in this form, and then we can use the square root method. So then I'm just going to isolate x, and I am left with x equals -1 plus or minus square root of 17. All divided by 2, and 17 is prime, so I'm just going to leave it just like that. And I want it in its exact form for these ones. It's not an application problem, so we don't want to crunch the numbers and get a decimal answer. If it were a word problem, then we would want to do that. All right, so now I'm going to move on to numbers 9 and 10 in the same video. Okay, this video is from the same set of homework, so we're going to look at number 9 first, and again I'm going to get rid of that numbering just to get it out of the way. And we have 2 times the cube root of quantity x plus 4 equals -3. So the first thing we want to do is isolate our cube root. Okay, and so we are left with the cube root of x plus 4 equals -3 halves. Now, in order to undo this, we're going to do the inverse thing and go ahead and take the cube of both sides. And then we'll be left with x plus 4 equals -3 cubed over 2 cubed. So that will be -27 over 8. And now we're going to subtract 4 on both sides. And then we can just crunch the numbers. And so 4 would be the same as 32 over 8. So I am just going to go ahead and write that as 32 over 8 to get a common denominator. And then I'm just going to subtract, and I get -59 over 8. I'm actually going to center my subtract. And there we go. That's your final answer. So the last one I'm going to do for this set is number 10. And we have RV equals 1 over C plus R, and we're solving for C. So we want to isolate C. So we need to kind of collect my R's to one side and get C on the other side. So to start with, I think the easiest thing is just to subtract r from both sides. So we have RV minus R equals 1 over C. Okay, then we can actually cross multiply, kind of get that turned around. Or you can really, as long as you know, you have one fraction equal to another fraction, if you flip them both, that will work too. But I'm going to show you the cross multiplication. So I would have C times RV minus R equals 1, and then divide both sides by RV minus R. And I would get C equals 1 over RV minus R. But just so you know, some little quick trick is if you had like A over B equals C over D, that would be the same as B over A equals D over C. So it just kind of flipped them both upside down. As long as you do that to both of them, you should be fine. And don't forget, you know, there's a 1 there involved. Okay, so that's it for the rest of these homeworks that I'll do out in video. I'll post them in the discussion board. Have a great day.